cares about this community. And we know that 31% of Northeast Florida are veterans. 20% of JEA employees are veterans. And we learned from one of our new employees that it's really difficult to transition to civilian life. She suggested that we might want to create an event that would bring all of the resources together that could help people. We received so much support. Even today, we've had a lot of excitement about adding this to a menu of offerings that JEA might be able to do. We're simply the hosts. When veterans walk into the event, they find people just like them. Other veterans from the community are here, veterans from JEA, to help guide them to resources with healthcare gaps, to utility assistance, mental health resources, might help them with just meeting a friend, somebody who's there, an ear to listen. Thank you to our community partners. Without them, Veterans Resource Day at JEA would not exist. We need them, and we are so grateful to them for their help.
Call this meeting to order. And first, it's my pleasure to welcome our newest board member, Worth MacArthur. Welcome aboard, Mirth. So time of reflection on the Hills of Memorial Day, where we pay tribute to those men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice, keeping them in mind. Let's pause for a time of reflection. Thank you. And now I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. This time, let's go with the safety briefing and values moment with Andrea White.
Good morning. My name is Andrea White, and I have served as a Leadership Development Solutions Specialist in the JEA Academy for the past 5 years. Our team has the pleasure of providing a broad portfolio of individual, team, and cohort assessments and leadership development experiences. For those of us participating downtown in the event of an emergency, the JEA security team will contact 911 and coordinate any required evacuation. If the emergency requires evacuation, safely exit through one of the 2 marked exits. In this meeting area, you can either exit the building through the Pearl Street main entrance or the Monroe Street exit to the left of the American flag. We will assemble in front of the Duval County Courthouse located at the northwest corner of Adams and Clay Street. If anyone needs medical assistance or help with safely evacuating, please notify a nearby JEA security officer. Please always be cognizant of the potential trip hazards in and around your respective areas. Lastly, please remember to keep your cell phones on silent and laptops on mute. JEA defines the value of safety as putting the physical and emotional well-being of people first, both at and away from work. At the core of ensuring learning participants are more likely to use new knowledge, skills, and behaviors, it's vital to create a safe environment. So for the values moment today, I would like to highlight best practice strategies for emotional well-being for all of us to consider as we work alongside one another at all levels across our great organization. Emotional well-being, particularly in the workplace, is also known as psychological safety. Organizations that intentionally cultivate this type of safety are more likely to have enhanced employee engagement, an inclusive culture, improved creativity, greater collaboration, better employee well-being, reduced employee turnover, and an increased level of team performance. These are all impactful outcomes that benefit our customers, our team members, and the bottom line. This type of safety can be implemented through actions such as encouraging questions, actively ask for input from all team members, admitting mistakes and sharing learning experiences, recognizing and rewarding team members who speak up and challenge ideas and not the other way around. Focus on improvement instead of blame. Establish expectations and norms for open, respectful conversations to allow for discussing creative ideas, mistakes, and other topics without fear. Use these strategies consistently to embed our value of psychological and emotional well-being safety, and JEA can experience immeasurable benefits. And of course, if you or your team would like additional support in this area, reach out to the Learning and Development Division. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it. Okay, now we'll go to comments from the public, and speakers are reminded a 3-minute limit. And first I have Logan Cross, please.
Hello, thank you. My name is Logan Cross. I'm a San Marco resident at 1521 LeBaron Avenue, and I'm also the leader of the Sierra Club Northeast Florida group. I've come before you, the board members, in the past and done so urging you to what I will call modernize your energy generation practices and systems. I've been on a hiatus but in coming to speak to you, but in the interim, I've had the good fortune of meeting with the JEA leadership, and I want to applaud CEO Cavey and the other leaders for their openness, their willingness to answer our questions, and the patience. I say our, it's me and Lisa Roneman, the St. John's River Keeper. It has been very illuminating, but what we have learned is that CEO Cavey and the leadership is dutifully implementing JEA's mission and the integrated resource plan, the 2023 integrated resource plan, as you would expect them to do so. Unfortunately, JEA's mission, developed decades ago, is out of alignment with the current realities in which we're experiencing rapid climate change. Water is becoming a precious resource. So simply delivering affordable, reliable electricity without regard for the environmental impact is out of touch with the times. That is underscored by the fact that they are dutifully implementing a 2023 integrated resource plan that not only locks JEA into fossil fuel dependence, not just now, but for decades to come. The plan has JEA holding on to its coal-fired power plant, the Northside Generating Station, in perpetuity. It also is committing JEA to build a combined cycle natural gas plant at almost probably in excess of $1 billion, wedding JEA to fossil fuel dependence for decades to come. Also, it projects carbon emission increases increasing well into the future. It is with all this in mind that I strongly encourage JEA's board and the JEA leadership to revisit the 2023 integrated resource plan and do so in a very objective and open-minded fashion. Do so keeping in mind that it's more than just delivering affordable, reliable electricity. JEA is a community-owned entity, and therefore it should be very mindful of the impact that it has on the environment and, by extension, the citizens. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Logan. Okay, next we have John Nooney, please.
Hello, I am John Philanthropic, Resiliency, Intangible, Good Boy Noonie. Ocho Tres, Cinco Seis, Bascom Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32216, City Council District 4, CPAC Planning District 3, School Board District 3. First, I just wanted to just share, you're going to be voting on this in a second, but here's how I'm reflected in the minutes. John Nooney spoke to the board regarding the St. Johns River Accord and City Council's upcoming session. And then Felicia Strigler was not present. And that's how I'm reflected in the minutes. And what I would just want to remind all of us, and really why I'm here, this is going back 2 years, but, this was the Northeast Florida Regional Council. And, I went to them first. That's 7 counties. And so, there's also, when it comes to, as Mr. Cross was pointing out, with our water quality, there is not only water quality, but there's also public access to our waterways. And, I've been going to the Florida Inland Navigation District. That's fine. That's the east coast of the state of Florida for decades. And one of their missions is land acquisition. And 6 months ago, in the city of Jacksonville, we got put on the FIND project land acquisition list. So anyway, and let me see. Okay, I got a minute 21. But I also like to just have fun with all these acronyms. But you go back to BBB, Build Back Better. And now we have BBB, the big beautiful bill. Now, Mr. Boylan, who's the council liaison, is not here. And I'm going to go with BBB. It's Boylan's Botanical Backyard. And the reason I'm saying that, he's on the find list. He's in here. There's 3 properties, Pottsburg Creek. So anyway, going forward, I'm just down to 40 seconds. And here is Council Liaison Michael Boylan, reference City of Jacksonville Bill 2025-0194E regarding the Fulton Cut Crossing Project, which would be coming before the City Council later this evening. There is a City Council meeting later tonight, but that's Reed Island. And let me just say, I was at Reed Island, that's going to be private. So anyway, going forward, I just want to share with all of you, and I am seeking resolutions, from every board. And going forward, just 6 seconds left, just provide public access on our waterways. It's just the right thing to do. All right. Well, thank you for listening.
Thanks, John. Okay, next we'll go to the Vicky Cavey for a report.
Thank you, Chair DeSalvo. We have a lot to celebrate today. I want to let you know that our annual hurricane exercise with the City of Jacksonville, the Sheriff's Office, the Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Department, the FBI, the FDEP, and the Coast Guard happened on April the 23rd at our Emergency Operations Center. Also remind you that we will be hosting our tabletop exercise on June 3rd through the 5th, excuse me. And it's part of a statewide exercise. Any of you are welcome to come if you'd like. I think Chair DeSalvo, you came one year. Next, I'd like to recognize that from the APPA, we received for the second year in a row diamond status for our top tier safety performance and injury prevention across our operations. That's just wonderful, and safety is one of our top goals here. Also, our Monterey Water Reclamation Facility got first runner-up for the Earl B. Phelps Award at the Florida Resource Water Conference. That acknowledges excellence in secondary wastewater treatment. So I want to congratulate Josh Williams, whom you see in the picture, and he's the operations team leader and his entire team. Next, Fitch confirmed our JEA AA rating for our electric system bonds. Some of the highlights of their report stated we had strong operations, a strong risk profile, very strong financial standing, and that these are the result of strategic leadership and the board's guidance. We should be very proud of that. Also, we received another Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award. As you recall, we got this last year as well. It recognizes transparency, fiscal stewardship, and excellence in budget planning. Thank you to the whole budget team. Actually, to the whole JEA. It's a big undertaking. Next, we did our Jax Ready Fest. That was April 25th through the 26th. Great fun, a good time at the convention center. We reached 500 students and 800 community members. We were there promoting readiness for the upcoming hurricane season. Here we see the linemen again at the APPA National Line Workers Rodeo. These guys placed first overall in apprentice. Ryan is not only the best in the state, he is now the best in the country. That's Ryan on the left. Also, our journeyman team placed second overall in the country. That is just amazing, just amazing. We also got some other awards too. Noah Sapp and Hunter Thomas also medaled. Last but not least, I want to call Jackie Shield to the podium if you don't mind, Jackie. We are going to recognize the fecal matter team from our wastewater area. They also have made us very proud in a state competition. Jackie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Vicki. Excuse me. Good morning, Vicki and Chair. Appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come in and brag, or the accolades of our great team. And the Florida Water Resource Conference is a multi-state conference of all of our organizations. You have the FSA-WWA, the FWPCOA, and the FWEA. And where the AWWA focuses on water, this one is what they consider the wastewater Olympics. And so our teams go down and they compete in a 4-member team over 5 different competitions. You'll see a lot of hardware up there on that table. So the teams compete in a maintenance event. This is what makes us very beneficial whenever we go out either in during storms and or whenever we go out and do mutual aid. It's a simulation of hooking a pump up to a lift station so that in case you lose power or something, because you do that during storms, and what makes us so resourceful whenever we do go out and respond. So it's that fast-paced competition. A maintenance event is the skills of both teams to where they do the mounted trailer, and then they move on to the safety. So the safety event is not just one person goes down, but a second person goes down. The first person that goes down into a confined space entry in the hole is that they overcome by a gas in the hole. Then the second one that goes in to retrieve him has a heart attack. And so then another one goes down. And this again is everything that's inside that manhole is monitored on a daily basis before they can enter in. And so this here is a great skill to know that we can survive during the safety event. And then the collections is what we do at Pearl Street every day. The collections is whenever you have a rupture in a wastewater main, a sewer force main or something of that, to where you go in there, you cut the pipe out, you place a new pipe in. And then the fourth event is the laboratory. The laboratory is kind of a mix of everything you do on the water wastewater side is a regulated event. So what you put into the water, what you can't put into the water. So here you do a test of the oxygen that is released through the microorganisms. And then the last and final event is the process control. The process control event is kind of like 2 separate teams. You split up. One actually does a written exam that has the math and has all of that, and you have to do it from memory. They give you a couple of different scenarios to do, and you have to adapt to those scenarios. And then the last one is you actually perform the event. They give you 2 scenarios, they switch it up on you, and then you have to take the panel that's inside of the station to make sure that you can perform that. So we participated in all 5 of those events, and I'm gonna call the team up as we placed first place in process controls, first place in collections, second place in safety, second place in pump maintenance, and second place in lab. Not only are they the best in the state, the teams vote amongst themselves of all the participants about sportsmanship. They also too won the sportsmanship award, which is called the Albert Heller Sportsmanship Award. So with that, they placed #1 in the state, which means they will represent the state of Florida at WebTech 25 in Chicago, Illinois, in September 27th through October 1st of this year. So give a round of applause as we introduce our team, the Fecal Matter. It's a team name that they presented. It is led by their manager sponsor over the Nassau plant, Randy Ellis. Please, gentlemen, if y'all will come up, and ladies. The team captain is Ryan Cohey, and then Patrick Etheridge, Jason Jolly, Wayne Jones, Robbie Addy, Brent Mooring, and Greg Geiger. So we do not just represent in brawn, we do have the brain power that goes behind that, and of course the sportsmanship that carries us through with all that. But of course we can't do that alone. As we are, you heard there's three state organizations that participate. So we know that we're the number one utility, I say in the world, but as far as size wise, we're the number one utility in the, for municipalities. So we can't do that without our judges and our support team. So our judges that help us is Zasha Del Orbe. She helps with AWWA as well. Mike Fowler, Chris Swihart, Earl Davies, and Kerry Lewis Jr. All right, we'd like to thank, Hi and Rob and Vicky both for, all for letting us, perform and recognize and take a place in the state and in the nation, and the board for, accepting us as who we are and where we are. Thank you.
We are so proud of you all. I mean, our field teams cannot be beat, and we have the trophies to prove it. It's just outstanding. Thank you, everyone. Next, we just welcomed our summer interns. We have 26 interns this year from 8 different colleges spanning a multitude of disciplines you can see here. And I believe we showed a video in the beginning also. And last but not least, you also saw the Veterans Resource Day, which happened on the same day as this, which is the Jacksonville Minecraft Education Event. This was really cool. Jacksonville is one of a handful of cities selected by Minecraft, a kids game where you build cities, to build a sustainable city. And the competition for the high school group was the sports area. So they built sustainable walkways and solar panels and all this. But the best thing was, well, I guess the best thing was ViStar donated $10,000 in prize money to the schools, which was outstanding. But the second best thing was my alma mater, Sandalwood High School, won the high school division. So a shout out to Minecraft and to Sandalwood. And with that, General DeSalvo, I'm concluding. Thank you.
Great, thank you. A lot of great stuff going on. And for the water wastewater team in Chicago, good luck. And I know you're going to do us proud. A lot of awards are just we discussed, but the safety one, I think that speaks volumes. That shows that everybody's committed to JEA, from the CEO to the senior leadership team to the managers, directors, all the way down to the folks doing God's work out on the streets. The safety recognition, I think, is just fantastic. So congratulations to you all on that. Okay, now we'll go for the JEA performance update and the corporate scorecard with Julie, please.
Good morning. I'll be presenting the results of our corporate scorecard with data as of April 30th. There are no current updates to the employee engagement score, and our safety metric remains well below target. Our residential customer satisfaction remains in the second quartile as of March, and we have no updates for the commercial metric. Our residential bill continues to be one of the lowest combined electric, water, and sewer bill in the Florida benchmark, and this month is the second lowest as a percent of median household income. Our total spend is under budget by 3% year to date. Our O&M is under by only 1%. Fuel and purchase power expense is over budget by 27%, and that's mainly due to the natural gas prices and higher than anticipated sales. And our CapEx spend is under budget by 17%, which is an improvement from last month. Moving to operational metrics seen on the right-hand side, the SAIDI metric is over target by 14%, which is a decline from last month's performance. Our clean energy is slightly under target, but is anticipated to achieve the target by the end of the year. Our water reliability declined month over month, but the metric continues to remain below the targeted ceiling. The decline was due to a spike in average minutes of water pressure due to a low amount of rainfall coupled with the start of irrigation season. And our sewer reliability declined month over month, but the metric still came in under the goal for this month. And our technology availability metric performance, it held month over month. Do you have any questions?
Great. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, financial update. Joe, please.
Good morning, General DeSalvo and JEA board members. I'm here to present the April year-to-date results. Yeah, thank you. On the electric side, base revenue is up over budget year-to-date, 5.4%. The $25 million over budget is due to an 8% increase in sales over budget. Degree days year-to-date are up 20% relative to last year, specifically cooling degree days increasing by 44%. So a significant increase in weather related to last year. Fuel rate revenue is up 23%, primarily due to a 6.4% increase in sales and a 24% increase in fuel and purchase power related expenses. I'll get into those fuel and purchase power expenses in a moment. The other revenue increase is driven by a $1.3 million receipt from FEMA, unbelievably, for 2017 Hurricane Dorian. That's not a typo. Our receipt from FEMA continues to be at a snail's pace. I think we've only closed out Matthew in 2016. I think there's still some money remaining for Dorian as well. So our reimbursement from FEMA, similar to our brethren in the large public power council, they talk about the same delay in receipt from FEMA. You've asked about other revenue in the past. To give you some color, the largest components are transfers to the renewal and replacement fund, about $46 million, and investment income, $11 million. On the expense side, O&M is that's operations and maintenance expense is 4.3% under budget year to date, due to an underspend in other services and charges of $12.6 million, primarily environmental and professional fees, offset by higher than budget spend in net labor, $2.7 million, and supplies and materials, $2.8 million. The fuel and purchase power expense is up $51 million. That's 23% due to colder than expected winter temperatures and an extended unplanned outage at Northside Unit 3, requiring usage of more expensive purchase power and Northside solid fuels, that's units 1 and 2, to make up for the shortfall in generation caused by the outage at Northside 3. Debt service is under budget by about $5 million, primarily due to the termination of interest rate swaps last fall in conjunction with the debt restructuring, de-risking, as AJ calls it. The $5 million variance in the contribution to the city will be addressed upon city council approval of the amended and restated interagency agreement next month. And we'll make a true-up payment to catch up for the budgeted amount that we had assumed as part of the interagency agreement. And you'll see the same thing in the water system. Non-fuel purchase power is $2 million over budget, resulting from a TEA, that's the Energy Authority capacity expense charge in January of about $1 million, just over $1 million that was not budgeted. The largest components of non-fuel purchase power are MEAG Project J debt service, that's about $105 million, and $14 million of TEA capacity payments. We also have St. Johns River Power Park and Shearer debt service that are part of that non-fuel purchase power as well. Other expenditures are $4 million under budget, primarily due to environmental rate stabilization activity. On the fuel side, you'll see the increase in generated power of about $8.30 over the prior year. Again, that's a result of Northside 3 being down and having to rely on Northside units 1 and 2 more than what was planned. The purchase power, Ted Phillips reported back in February that figure was over $100. It looks deceiving because MEAG paid us just under 28 million in April for a year-end settlement payment. And what's going on there is we pay roughly between $19.5 and $20.5 million a month, but MEAG collects from us an additional 10% to cover a 1.10 debt service coverage requirement. So that figure on 170 million of annual debt service is about 17 million. And then the remaining 10 to 11 million is interest income that sits in the debt service reserve fund that's freed up at the end of the calendar year. So we'll see that credit. Their long range forecast shows that credit to be about 25 million a year going forward. So happy is a silver lining to to Project JEA.
Was that unexpected, Joe?
No, that was
Okay.
planned. I had forecast 25 million, and a few million more than what we had forecast, but that's always a good thing. And that's going to help the fixed charge coverage increase to the level that we have budgeted as well. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So in the electric system O&M spending is 6.6 million over the prior year, and the current projection for the year is to be slightly under the budget. The capital forecast is projected to be 7 million under budget, and the capital spend year to date is 144 million. So moving over to water, thank you. Water and sewer revenues down 0.2%. This is in line with year-to-date volume being 1.2% lower than budgeted. Capacity fees are up about $1 million and investment income $146,000. The other income decrease is primarily due to a $1.2 million decrease in rental income. And again, focusing on these other categories, the largest component of other income are transfers to the R&R, Renewal and Replacement Fund, of $9 million, miscellaneous service revenues of $5 million, and intercompany inventory carrying charges of $4 million. The year-to-date O&M spend of $150 million was 6% higher than the fiscal year 2024 actuals of the same time frame, and 2.4 million over budget, largely driven by higher salaries and benefits, as well as materials and supplies. Debt service is about 3 million under budget, again, lower debt balances than what were forecast. We would expect to make that up over the course of the year, however. And then the 2 million variance in contribution to the city, again, will be addressed when council hears and approves the amended and restated interagency agreement next month. So the water system forecast for O&M is projected to be 269 million, which is 5.5 million higher than the annual budget of 263.5 million. And that spend is 102% of the annual budget. We continue to monitor the O&M spend, but again, with salaries and benefits and materials and supplies largely driving this negative variance. The capital spend is 249 million year to date, and the total spend is projected to be 525 million. I believe we showed you 505 million in February, so that is trending up, but still 93% of the budget. And then that cash balance, a little misleading. Again, those are unexpended bond proceeds that are driving those big balances beginning in January. At the end of April, we still had 180 million to spend under the bond offering that was closed at the end of January. So as Fitch Ratings correctly pointed out, these metrics warrant AA ratings in both systems. And we continue to push Moody's and S&P to increase their single A ratings in the electric system to AA. The metrics are strong. You see the fixed charge coverage. Again, with the receipt of the year-end settlement payment from MEAG, as well as higher revenues in the summer, we intend to be at or above the 1.6 times coverage target level. And to give you an idea, last year we were at 1.65. So we're very comfortable and confident in our forecasting that we'll be at or above the 1.6 times. The other metrics remain quite strong. With that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Joe, just out of curiosity, why are the other agencies holding and a need to push in changing their rating?
That's a great question, board member. Moody's, well, really, but Moody's and S&P were taken aback and immediately downgraded us when we filed the litigation against MEAG. Well, first they filed against us, and we quickly filed a countersuit. And then coupled with the changes in the management team over time, they wanted to see the MEAG situation get resolved, which it was through a former CEO, Paul McElroy, and Jody Brooks, negotiated a settlement deal with MEAG. That was a positive, but then they want to see stability of management as well. So they've quoted that. We think we're getting there, but it's much quicker to get downgraded than it is to be upgraded. So we're working it, and we're not bashful with either of those agencies in requesting an upgrade. It's a great question.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, next consent agenda. Could I have a motion to vote on the consent agenda, please?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, next, Rick Morales, if we could have a capital projects committee report, please.
Okay, so this was quite a meeting. We've got a lot to go over. We had our capital project committee here at 2 p.m. on Friday. Mr. Baker was able to join us in person as committee member. We also had General DeSalvo, MG Orander, and Worth MacArthur were also in attendance, and thank you very much. The first project we reviewed was the authorization for the easement purchase from the Jacksonville Aviation Authority. Jordan Pope presented to us the purpose for the easement is a growth on the north side and the future demand. The scope includes for 2 future substation 11-mile utility corridor acquisition was negotiated with the Jacksonville Aviation Authority for 52.248 total acres and 0.1 acre for a subdivision site and a 39-acre utility corridor and a 2.5 acre access easement. The purchase price of the easement, the appraisal was $5.6 million. The committee voted in favor of this, and we bring this to the board for action. The committee moves it.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Please. Any discussion?
I
All
just
those-
would bring out that the price was exactly what our appraisal said it should be.
Mhm. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Passed, thank you.
Thank you. The second item to come before us was the Maxwell substation authorization of condemnation. Needed 16 acres adjacent to the 230 kilovolt KVA transmission line on the west side. The purpose is for future demand. Negotiations are ongoing with the property owners, but the Administrative Services has asked for the authority to proceed with condemnation if they're not able to negotiate with the owner, but they continue to negotiate. And we bring this to make a motion from the committee for the board to accept this.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I just had questions on this one. These are residential homes?
No.
Or when we say the owners?
It's,
Um,
they had a map of the property and it's undeveloped piece of land
Okay,
on the west side.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Passed, okay?
Third project was the Arlington East Reclamation Facility Expansion Phase 2 with Wharton Smith. The facility was originally built in 1976 and treats $26 million, 26 million gallons, wish for $26 million, 26 million gallons a day of sewage. The expansion is required to install new blowers. We have a contract. The design was completed in 2024. We awarded a contract for $99.1 million to Wharton Smith. The project is under construction, and JEA is going to direct purchase much of the equipment, which will save the JEA $1 million in the total contract. So what we bring to the board is the motion to amend the contract to allow the direct purchase.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed.
The next item that came before the committee does not require action. It was an update on the Hogan's Creek District Energy Project for all the expansion that's going down around the new Stadium of the Future. With the Miller Executive Center, the Four Seasons, Mosh, the Stadium of the Future expansion, the plan is add three chillers and 2,000 tons of cooling and 2,000 tons each of 12 cooling towers. Upgrade expansion system. The target for future build out is 11,400 tons by 2028. Deanna Davis presented this to us, and we will be getting future updates as the negotiations go forward. This was for report only. We also received an update from Ricky Erickson on the combined cycle update. The Power Island RFPs were issued in September 24. They did receive two bidders on the Power Island, GE Vernova and Mitsubishi Power. The resulted in GE Vernova was selected to receive through the final evaluation. They also conducted the market test. It started in October of 2024. Bids were received and evaluations will end on June 27th, 2025 to report back to the board. Next steps will be to evaluate the difference between the market test and the possibility of self-construction. They continue to negotiate with GE and understanding the long-term options and direct purchase of that generator to reserve it if we go in that direction. And the staff will seek approval in August of 2025 to go forward with that project at this point. The last item that was brought before the committee was the Fulton Cut replacement updates, which is the raising of the power lines across the St. Johns River. The lines will be raised from 175 feet to 225 feet, exceeding the 205-foot requirement. So there's a 20-foot buffer that is built into it. The project has been awarded. It's quite a complicated project, including helicopters and it's going to be a very high-risk project for the JEA, and the JEA has also purchased additional insurance to protect ourselves during this process. They've also been meeting with the communities that will be impacted, the homeowners associations and in that district. All the major components are confirmed and under purchase, and the permits from the Department of Environmental Protection are pending. The current project cost is $117 million, and we will have future updates. The next committee meeting is on August 18th. That concludes my report, General.
Great, thank you. A great meeting again, and thanks to you and John. Okay, next we'll go to the interlocal agreement for emergency mutual potable water interconnection with Julie.
Good morning again. St. Johns County recently acquired North Beach Utilities, Inc. that serves the Volano Beach and North Beach areas of St. Johns County. And that system is not interconnected to the rest of the county-owned system, but it is adjacent to JEA's Ponce de Leon grid in South Ponte Vedra. Our Ponce de Leon grid is also not interconnected with the rest of the JEA-owned system. So JEA and the county have agreed that a potable water supply interconnection would be beneficial in the case of an emergency, such as fire, equipment failure, flood, or any other natural disaster. This proposed agreement will expire in tandem with our current interlocal agreement, which is set to expire in 2034. So we are requesting the board authorize the CEO to execute an agreement. You can find that in your materials, to provide for the mutual provision of available potable water by and between JEA and St. Johns County during emergency water conditions. You have any questions?
Okay, could I ask for a motion, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed. Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll do the Business Excellent Report with Bill Kemp from K3. And just before we start, again, Bill, condolences to the K3 team and Wally Bruin's family too. Wally is one of the consultants who really was giving us very good analysis and advice, et cetera. And just untimely death, passed away unexpectedly. So just want to extend on behalf of the board our condolences to Wally's family and to your team.
Okay. Am I on now? Okay. Good morning. Thank you, General DeSalvo, and each of the board members for the opportunity to present this summary of our Business Excellence Assessment for JEA. My name is Bill Kemp, and I'm the project executive for the K3 Strategies team. Going on the topic that we just discussed, it feels a bit strange to be speaking alone to you today. As most of you know, Wally Baran, who was my partner and co-pilot really on this project for K3 Strategies, passed away suddenly and unexpectedly in his sleep several weeks ago. We will remember and honor his intellect, his pursuit of truth, humor, he had a bunch of stories, and his passion for helping JEA. But I thank you for your thoughts. The K3 Strategies team, wrong direction. K3 Strategies team has been working with JEA since last November. We started with gathering input and insights from the people who know JEA the best, its board and management. Those internal views were complemented by external comparisons of JEA's performance and costs versus peer utilities. The many improvement opportunities that surfaced were then prioritized in a collaborative process across the leadership team. Today, we are reviewing the findings and first cuts at paths forward for the high priority initiatives for the board's consideration. Now, you've all seen the summary deck in advance, so I'm not going to speak to each point of the slides, but I'll mainly speak to the biggest takeaways from each of the slides. If you have clarifying questions on the way, feel free to pipe up, but if it's a discussion question, we have a Q&A session at the end. Before we dive into the major improvement opportunities, let's step back and remember that JEA has many strengths. It has succeeded in its core mission of delivering reliable and cost-effective water and electric service to its customers. JEA has been through some difficult times in the past 7 years, but the team is focused on the better future. If I can sneak in one Wallyism, the good thing about the past is that it's past. The K3 and JEA team paid close attention throughout this project to the board's top concerns, as expressed by the boards in its meetings and in 24 and 25. The areas of concerns that were cited for the board in the invitation to negotiate the RFP before this project was launched, and in the initial meetings that we had with the board members at the beginning of the project. Back in November, we conducted a series of initial assessment workshops with the leadership teams of all the JEA functions. They know their pain points and issues that need to be addressed. A number of common themes soon emerged from across the organization. We asked the workshop participants to prioritize the issues and the opportunities that they wanted addressed. The highest priority themes for those issues and opportunities overall were the items that are highlighted in the bottom: the capital investment management, cost growth, strategic direction and a strong culture, workforce hiring and retention, IT support capabilities, and customer affordability. So I think there was relatively good alignment between the board's concerns and JEA's management team's concerns. Meanwhile, we conducted benchmarking analyses across a large number of costs and performance metrics, comparing JEA to peer large public power and water utilities, medium-sized investor-owned utilities across the nation, and investor-owned utilities in Florida. This slide shows some of the detail on two areas of high interest to the board: the customer service and general and administrative functions areas. G&A costs basically cover the non-operations portion of JEA. For example, finance, human resources, technology services, and corporate administration, sometimes altogether called corporate services. JEA's comparative cost performance in these areas has slipped a bit in the past 3 years, from below the median, sort of high second quartile, to now in the third quartile. Overall, electric operations compare well to peer utilities in costs and reliability. As I just noted, comparative costs in the customer and G&A areas has slipped a bit and are now a little bit higher than average. The electric system was built to quite robust standards over the years, which continues to pay dividends in reliability metrics. The water system has good cost performance, but reliability metrics have declined, largely due to underinvestment in the existing water system. That's where the leakage issues are coming from. So with that background, what are the high improvement opportunities that were surfaced? Let's walk through 10 of the biggest ones, grouped into capital, operations, and corporate services categories. The numerous other improvement opportunities that surfaced will be incorporated as appropriate into broader initiatives that will be defined in the next phase. Let's first address the major initiatives in the area of capital programs. Perhaps the top board concern has been the large ramp up in capital spending that JEA is now forecasting, reaching annual levels in the next few years that are well above what JEA has managed in the past. JEA is not alone in facing this CapEx surge. Other utilities are seeing similar challenges. Two major projects account for about 1/3 of that CapEx through 2030. Treatment plants and pipelines for complying with the requirements of Senate Bill 64, and a large gas-fired combined cycle generation plant. on the SB 64 costs, if Governor DeSantis signs a bill, or recently passed a bill, the costs relating to Senate Bill 64 compliance could be reduced and stretched out, which would lower the peak annual capex for the water system. If you look at how total capital spending in recent years breaks down into the electric and water systems, and within that into growth versus maintenance capital, it's clear that growth capital has been prioritized over maintenance capital in allocating the limited financially constrained capital budget. This is understandable, as JEA does have an obligation to provide service to new customers as a utility. However, capital spending for maintenance has been consistently below the level that is required over the longer term for adequate upkeep of the existing system. Particularly in the water system, this has resulted in deteriorating asset condition and declining reliability. And you can see there how the blue bars, as explained in the footnote there, the blue bars should be at or above that gray line there if you're spending enough on maintenance capital to replace even just the existing system with the inflation over time of the existing system costs. There it goes. Okay. Yeah. Right, right. And I'll have a recommendation later on that the water side needs to do some longer term capital planning too. Yeah, but good observation. So as a result, O&M expense, just as you were saying, Commissioner, board member, the O&M expense has increased significantly in the water system. Non-operational O&M expenses, which is mainly corporate services, have grown since 2021 at an even faster rate than in operations. So JEA in recent years has been spending more on O&M while it underinvests in needed capital expenditures, which in turn have the effect of increasing O&M costs further down the road. This is not a sustainable financial and operating model.
Bill, just to underline what you've been saying on the last slide.
Yeah.
G&A is ballooned dramatically in the last 2 or 3 years.
It has. It's part of that's inflation, but it's headcount growth and compensation growth. And we couldn't find a increase in corresponding work volume that would account for that. So.
Sorry to hear that.
However, it's fixable. So we recommend a shift. Oops, going to the right page here. I'm getting confused on this thing. Okay. We recommend a shift in JEA's financial and operating model. JEA should leverage incremental capital investments that will reduce O&M costs. Even if JEA has to take out more debt to finance these investments, the risk of modestly higher debt in JEA's balance sheet should not materially affect its perceived credit risk or cost of debt. JEA's finance leaders are on board with this financing program as long as the additional debt load is managed tightly and the expected O&M savings are delivered. And I just confirmed with that prior to the meeting that that's still the way they felt, and I said yes. But that last part about delivering on the savings is important. You just can't spend it based on promises. Such programs of so-called virtuous capital investment that pay for themselves with O&M savings have been used successfully by many of JEA's peer utilities. Florida Power and Light, for example, has been doing that for years. Going over to the process side in capital budgeting and managing the CapEx, JEA should continue to strengthen its capital budgeting process. Great progress was made in fiscal 26, and the process is concluded with enterprise level process now that prioritizes CapEx in an integrated manner across all functions. So the leadership team is responding to the board's concerns about improving capital budgeting management, I think. JEA should add, however, a final step to the process after the capital allocation process has been completed to evaluate whether JEA should also fund any incremental capital investments that can demonstrably produce sufficient savings. The process of procuring capital goods and services as efficiently and cost effectively as possible will be a vital part of successfully managing its large capital program. JEA certainly must comply with statutory and purchasing code requirements for transparency and due process in procurement. Full stop. Large opportunities exist, however, for making procurement processes faster and more efficient while still meeting those requirements. Given the expected surge in CapEx and related procurement activity, making the processes more efficient will better enable procurement staff to handle the higher expected future workload.
Bill, have you reviewed the new procurement code?
The new procurement code?
Yeah.
I believe Wally did, but I didn't know. Tyler Baran, and I've identified another procurement specialist that can help Tyler and the procurement folks with looking at that code and looking at their own processes. In addition to procurement process improvement through re-engineering, several large savings opportunities could be implemented quite quickly. Direct buying of equipment by JEA could be used more widely, allowing JEA to avoid sales taxes and contractor markup with substantial savings. Contract auditing to ensure correct billing by contractors could be made a standard practice. Many third-party firms offer such auditing services at no cost to the buyer, with their compensation coming from a percentage of the realized savings. Strong project and program management capabilities will be essential to keeping the upcoming major capital projects on time and on budget. Limiting JEA's oversight to project administration rather than proactive project management will not be sufficient, I don't think, to get the job done.
Bill, for the enhanced project management capabilities across operations and IT, is this a professional development type thing that needs to be done for our project managers or something else? I'm just trying to figure out how we move forward with that one.
Vicki, you can jump in if you want, but there is project management training, but if it maybe refresher training or more shifting the training from project administration to proactive project management, that focus. I'm not an expert well, I've done training and program management to utilities and so forth, but I won't. JEA has good capabilities in the training part. We just need to strengthen those, I think, and make sure everybody that's working on those projects is qualified.
Yeah, as we were reviewing this, one of the observations that I made is that it felt like, first of all, a lot of the opportunities here were identified by the team, which, I think is great. I think there's an empowerment element to this and the ability to disrupt things a bit and move quicker, right? So questioning the why is an opportunity. There's a lot of kind of near-term steps that can be taken without major overhauls to system to get some quick wins.
Yes.
So, I think anything that the team can do, kind of delve in now to generate some momentum would be a good thing.
Yep, I agree. We're already in discussions with the leadership of the water and electric businesses. There has been some direct procurement done, for example, but it's not a standard practice, which it should be. Moving on to electric and water operations, the leadership team and K3 strategies aligned around 4 major improvement opportunities amongst the many things that came up in our discussions with them. Okay. There we go. So on crew productivity, JEA has recognized for some time that the location of its operations service centers are no longer optimal for the location of most field work. While service centers closer to downtown Jacksonville may have made sense decades ago, most of the field work is now in the growth areas farther out. Plans to develop service centers closer to field work locations have been developed in recent years, so JEA is aware of the issue, but constraints on capital prevented them from being funded. So we undertook to do an analysis of what would be the benefits of this be something that would justify the investment that would be required. And the analysis shows what you would expect, that around 50% of crew time is lost travel time and yard congestion delays. The savings from increased crew productivity for getting to or somewhere near what you see up there is a little circled target. I guess it's not in that version, but if we got to anywhere close to the 60 to 65% that JEA peer utilities have as far as percentage of productive time for their field crews, that would pay for the new center's capital costs in less than 3 years. And this is a prime example of how releasing capital constraints for incremental projects that have a strong economic business case can make a lot of sense. Another major pain point for electric and water operations is the relatively dated systems and processes for enterprise asset management, or EAM. Better, more accessible data on asset conditions will improve system planning and project prioritization. Electric and water business leaders should lead this multi-year project to modernize asset management capabilities with support from tech services. And this also is a project that over time should be well justified by operational savings. As JEA reinvigorates its water pipeline renewal and replacement activities, they should be organized into an annual system plan for the water, wastewater, and reuse networks, much as the electric side has their annual plan. This will enable proactive asset management and accelerate progress in reducing apparent water losses, improving water pressure, migrating from potable to reuse water for outdoor uses, and improving water plant performance. No doubt Rob has a large list of projects already in his head what we'd like to do, but having a longer term plan to embed that in and help the board understand the capital priorities would be a good idea, I think. On more of a technology infrastructure issue, the improved asset planning and management technologies that we've just been talking about will need to be fed by richer and more timely information from the water and electric systems. More robust and capable internal telecommunications are a foundational technology for grid modernization efforts. JEA has lagged behind its peers in this area. It should move forward with developing and executing a roadmap to an integrated and highly capable distribution communications system. It's too balkanized right now. It's different systems for different purposes, and they can't talk to each other. Okay, our last area of major opportunities covers the customer and corporate services area. Okay. Through an analysis of JEA's customer contact processes, K3 Strategies identified several performance shortcomings that needed attention. Lower income customers did not migrate to web-based customer support applications nearly as much as has been assumed when JEA reduced staffing levels in its call center. Consequently, the call center fell behind in performance with long wait times and many dropped calls out of customer frustration. K3 Strategies recommends increasing call center staffing in the near term while moving forward with an effort to re-engineer the residential call center's processes, policies, and training. Staffing levels could be slowly reduced after that, after the improved processes and tools increase productivity. JEA's new customer leadership experience supports these recommendations and is already moving forward.
What have we already implemented?
We have already hired 10 new customer service reps with more on the way, and we've done a detailed analysis on where those gaps were and when they occurred. So we've established a talent pool with unfilled positions and moving those in there, and they are going to where they're needed. So Charles has done a great job, and we've already added 10.
IT support was highlighted by many JEA functional leaders as an area of unmet expectations and continuing frustration. But to be fair, many of JEA's peers also have challenges with IT support. Technology is changing rapidly, as are external requirements on the utility for reporting like SIP and so forth. Some of JEA's IT support issues grow out of weak governance and collaboration processes. The internal users of IT services should clearly lead development of functional requirements for new systems for their businesses with robust business cases for investments in new systems. The senior leadership team should have a more active role in overseeing large IT projects. So I think it means to go back to more clearly to a business model where the technology services is working at the direction of the business leaders because they know what they need in their systems. But even above and beyond sort of governance and processes, fundamentally, this is an area where JEA's smaller scale poses a quandary. It's too big, it's too small to be big, meaning it can do everything in-house, and it's too big to be small. Consequently, K3 Strategies recommends taking a hard look at which IT activities should be performed in-house and which should be performed by external managed services providers with deeper capabilities. And in parallel, JEA obviously needs to strengthen its capabilities internally for managing the managed services providers. That's the way to go. Won't be an instant fix. It's going to be at least a couple of year change in the business model and the capabilities around that. In the human resources area, the new leadership of human resources function is already moving forward, similar as in the customer area, with efforts to reduce cycle times for recruiting and hiring new employees and full-time contractors. That was a long-time complaint. Long hiring timelines have been a complaint from many JEA functions, with many lost candidates and significant drains on management time from the length of the process. In order to do that compression and support it adequately, some investment in updated HR systems may be required. While some of the major improvement opportunities will not be able to make full progress until new systems or processes have been implemented, others can get going quickly. These quick start opportunities are shown in italics on the graphic there. Making rapid traction and improvement initiatives will help build momentum for the broader Business Excellence program. So kudos to the JEA leaders who are already diving into the effort. To recap our findings, the JEA team has the talent and ambition to execute on major improvement opportunities and drive value for customers and employees. The major themes of JEA's new operational and financial strategy will be to effectively deploy capital, leverage incremental capital to reduce O&M, pursue a lean G&A organization, and leverage outside resources where effective. And overall, we'll focus and align on strategy, vision, and objectives, and engage the entire workforce in implementation. As we've experienced here before, the power of a focused, aligned, and engaged organization is an awesome thing to behold. You can get a lot done if you're all rowing in the right direction. So let me hand it off now to Vicki for Q&A and comments.
We just wanted to give the board an opportunity to discuss this together, maybe ask questions of Bill and myself, and then I'll talk about how we plan on moving forward.
I guess the first thing that crosses my mind is, one, these are very good recommendations. And at least from my perspective, just a great job by the K3 team on helping us see ourselves accurately. Any organizations worth their salt obviously want to find out what their weak spots, blind spots are. So I think this really served its purpose. Just in my simple mind, this is a big elephant, so how do we go about it? And you said, Bill, whatever our way ahead is, it's not going to be instant results. This is going to take some time and a thought out strategy for making the improvements. It seems to me the biggest, most challenging one sort of is in the technical services IT part because of the nature of the beast, how it constantly changes. But do we have any idea or just any thoughts on, you got to move forward with it, keeping in mind that you've got it, it's always a work in progress, not getting behind on better ways of doing business from the IT side of the house. But I'm just, do we have any idea? Do we first start with our iTech or our IT, I guess, enterprise architecture, or do we focus on grid modernization and the associated IT that goes with that? Just any thoughts on that? Have you seen best practices with that?
There's some things just process-wise that could be relatively quick hits. I mean, as far as, what projects are you doing? I mean, you need to be careful about what projects you select in IT and have buy-in from the operating businesses on that. Beyond that, as you suggest, there would be you'd have to do kind of a roadmap. Okay, where do we want to get to, and what IT capabilities are required to do that? So that will be business planning, business cases, and so forth. And before you even get to talking about the technical solution, you need to get to where's the business vision that we want to get to, right? So, and that's what we'll be working on, the strategy overall for the company. But again, I think Brad, have the conversation with Brad where how he wants to proceed too. But I do have some resource that's identified as kind of a IT turnaround guy who's done a bunch of work to improve the function of the IT function within major corporations. But he may have other ideas too. I think you need to get some advice about how to plot that roadmap and then start biting it off piece by piece.
MJ, you start first. Go ahead.
Chairman, there's so many pieces to this and opportunities. One that was mentioned is already, you guys started with the Maxwell substation and buying the supplies yourself, saved $1 million. We talk about billions of dollars. A million doesn't sound like much, but a million here, a million there is real money. I was very surprised when I met with Bill and Wally to see how much travel time our teams put in. They 40–50% of your time is in driving to and from instead of getting to do what they're very good at. So, I mean, there's an opportunity. Arthur said earlier, this is a process that will empower the great staff we have to even do more. So there's a lot of parts. I think what you're talking about is extremely important, but we need to sit down and say, here's where we want to be as a board and a team. Here's where we want to be, and what do we need to do to get there? But along the way, there's all these little pickups that we can make. And one of the things that they said to me when we met, I wrote it down in my book over here, was $15 million worth of capital investment offsets $1 million in O&M. And the O&M can go to pay the capital. So if you begin to work through it, looking at it that way, there's some great opportunities here. And they've done a good job shining a light on some of those.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think always think about, what's the remit? What's the why, right? And it's the customer. And so while I'm concerned about technology, I'm really concerned about the cost to serve. And the reality is it's going to cost more over time for us to provide a level of safe, reliable transmission in terms of electricity, but also in terms of preserving the level of service we have on the wastewater side as well. And, I think that we have to figure out how to take that last slide where you showed the customer in the center of that flywheel and ensure the customers clearly understand the why and the opportunity cost associated with not doing anything, right?
Yes.
Brownouts, service failures, the inability to expand our service coverage area, et cetera, et cetera. So as a part of the next step, I think we need to have a pillar exclusively focused on communication strategies, both for the employees and for the customers. The beauty of not being publicly traded in the world that I live in is you're only as good as your last quarter. We can win now and win later. That needs to be the mantra. But we have to come up with a robust communication strategy that takes those key tenets and simplifies it in a way so that the customers understand the why. The investments that you're making, here's the return on the investment. Here's what you get in exchange for having a resilient, a reliant network and having a strong workforce. So I think we don't underestimate the importance of that communication strategy, because I think over the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be integral to how we manage our constituencies.
Yeah, well put. And especially as a publicly owned utility, you do have a duty to be effective in communicating what you're doing and why. It's not like an investor-owned utility, which sometimes tries to kind of do the minimum that they need to do in order to keep customers happy and not complain to the commission. But you're not satisfied with that. You want to earn your customers' loyalty, as we said about one of our foundational themes a few years ago. But and the communications piece, there will be multiple pieces of that, and I think the overall architecture will try to take all these ideas and combine them into 3 or 4 enterprise level initiatives that will have a number of components. And certainly for some of those, the communications area will be a major area of focus.
Vicki, seems to me a lot of great ideas. Great in some ways because they're simple and obvious and clear. I think the most important thing to do is to implement uh, these great ideas, and it's also the hardest thing to do. And I think it would be, I know the board would like it. I don't know whether, how management feels, but I would love to hear, not today, unless you've got it, but what our implementation plan is, and lay out split up this beast that we've got amongst the various committees of the board, so that somebody on the board is, a part of the implementation, or getting reported to about the implementation and the success or lack thereof in each one of them. And I think if we can do that, you've got a great group of people that can make things happen. The second comment I would make is we really were relying on Wally for the procurement. And I don't know what we can do about procurement, whether we've got city laws that make it impossible, but that in the HR hiring 176 days or whatever it is to hire somebody is criminal. And that would seem to be an easy, quick fix if we can to remedy those processes. And I would hope we could jump on that.
Yes, sir. We agree 100%. So we've already started looking at those processes. Diane Moser in HR and the entire leadership team, and also engaging her entire team within HR, is looking at that. As far as purchasing goes and going forward, we are meeting with Bill afterwards to see how we can go forward on that, or if we need to take a different tack. I'm confident that our purchasing team can work. I mean, there's a light shined on there now, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that we are meeting the requirements from state and local, but we are expediting as well, because it is takes a very long time. I want to say, as far as moving forward, the internal communications, to your point, is going to come from our development of our strategy, mission, vision, values, and everyone getting aligned. And we are taking this as these are our focus areas. This is where we need to focus. And frankly, some of us were pretty surprised by what we saw, specifically the customer area. I really had no idea that we had dropped our staffing to such low levels. We thought technology was going to solve it, but it didn't. So people who have problems still want to talk to people to resolve those problems. They're complicated. So we're looking there. On the technology piece, General, the technology, I'll say a Wallyism too, that I play over and over in my head. It has to be an evolution and not a revolution. We cannot just go in there and swipe away everything. Everybody knows what it's like when you update your phone, much less critical infrastructure or technology that runs services that this community can't live without. So we are looking at that very deeply and methodically. We are looking at doing some managed services, outsourcing some of those things that we are probably too small to do ourselves. Some of the compliance pieces perhaps, and going to look at that. We have engaged operations with technology to make sure we are getting systems that they want. Not letting the technology drive the business, but let the business drive the technology, specifically in the area of enterprise asset management. In order for us to fix our pipes, that I'm sure if Jackie's still here, and she still is, Jackie, your pipes are going to get attention. She has to know and be able to, or that whole team, where are the problems? And that's all enterprise asset management. She has a great team out there right now, plotting it and kind of doing it with spreadsheets and by hand. Am I correct, Jackie? She brought in a terrific gentleman who did this in Miami. So we are moving ahead a lot. The communications plan externally is critical. I don't think our community, they realized they wanted JEA and it's valuable. I don't know, no, we have not communicated what we bring in the form of public power and the way that we do it with water and wastewater. I mean, we are really an incredible institution, and we do it with a lot less people for all three of those systems, four when you count DES, than most utilities do with just electric. Sitting in this seat has shown me so much more than I ever saw in my 40 years prior at a higher level, and how JEA is very unique and extremely valuable. And we will always put the customer first. We're not about making money. We're about providing service, reliable service, as affordable as we can make it, and sustainable, so it's there. All you have to do is look at what's happened in areas of the country where you either, or even the world, where you don't invest or where you invest in the wrong things. There have been problems all over our country and really the world. So I feel like we are extremely focused on that. The other thing that really stood out to me, and I think not to our finance team because they heard it from our bond rating agencies, we don't invest enough. Our depreciation was greater than our spend on repair and replacement. So that's got to be a focus. And I hope, I hope that we are not afraid to do that. We have to do it. It's the pay me now or pay me later. We don't ever want to be that utility who has a big problem because we failed to invest because we didn't want to spend the money. I mean, you have to. Each and every one of you work in businesses where if you don't work on your maintenance, if you don't work on keeping your system up, you're going to have a failure. So we are going to meet afterwards, Bill and myself and some leadership team meeting members, to decide how we go forward. And we will do that with the leadership team and the entire JEA, and also for sure keep the board involved, informed, and constantly do touch points with you as we move along. And hopefully the first big one will be at our retreat in August. And I think Rick wanted to say something.
Yes, thankfully you addressed 2/3 of my question, talking about the technology and on the water wastewater side, the asset management. I think that's somewhere where Bill had mentioned earlier about the robustness of our electrical system, but maybe not quite as the investments that we've made on the water and wastewater side, the technology there. And I understand, you talk about the spreadsheets and a true asset management, smarter meters, more sensors along the system to understand leakages and so forth. I mean, I think that's it's not on the quick hit list. But you mentioned it, which I was thrilled to hear that, because that was one of those things that I think we need to invest in quicker. And it's going to take investment, but long-term, I think it will pay for it. And we seem to have done a really good job electrical system wise, but maybe not water and wastewater. But we need to focus a little bit more on that on the technology side. So thank you so much for mentioning that before I even got the chance to ask it.
I want to add one thing that I left off of my comments. Diane and her team in HR did a wonderful analysis on retirement risk. And, we've been throwing around the 30% number all this time. They did a very deep dive, and we're more like at 22%. And that is extreme high level all the way down to could retire. So we're looking very hard at that and developing our succession plan, not just at the top, but throughout the organization. So we're on that as well.
Vicki, on that point, first let me just say kudos to everyone for the courage to go on this journey and to take a look at the organization. And, I definitely want to just acknowledge and recognize the staff and their work on this journey, and identifying and being willing just to, to have the open and candid conversation with the K-3 team. Mickey, you raise a good point on the retirement risk. One of the things that I was thinking is, reading through the report, I know there's a lot of conversation that's happening these days around labor and workforce, and where are we going to get the talent from, right? Also, many corporations are sort of grappling with the conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and making certain that we are still building, diverse teams. 22% is still a number to be reckoned with. It's not 30%, thank goodness. And that's, great work. But as we highlight things like 31% of Northeast Florida being, a veteran population, and in many other communities that can often be underrepresented, I just want to be certain that we're keeping an eye out on the talent pool that we can pull from the Jacksonville and Northeast Florida community, as well as the talent management work that will be necessary to be done. I would love and welcome an opportunity to hear in the next round of reporting, what staff sees as the opportunities or the areas that should be prioritized. The answer always lies within, right? And I am confident that they have some even more great ideas to share around which nut to crack first, as it were.
Well, was that meant to be a layup? Because it was perfect. I'll tell you that also within HR and the company, we are looking at not only rolling strategy and getting those inputs from the ground up, because you're right, the answers lie within, but also we're going to implement a suggestion program so that everyone can put information in, because the people in the field and doing the work are where you need to go. The answers aren't at the top. So we're going to do that as well.
I love that. Thank you.
I might comment that things we can stop doing might be part of the suggestion program too, because we'll be busy with other stuff.
Another layup. Yeah, that's one of the critical questions we used to always ask. What can we stop doing? What can we stop doing? So we will discuss that as well, Bill. Thank you.
Okay. To beat a dead horse, I think Arthur summed it up best with just the implementation plan and getting momentum. And the good news is, for the low-hanging fruit, you're already all over that stuff, which is great. We don't want to rush to failure, but then again, we've got opportunity here to improve our posture in a number of areas, and I'm confident that we can do it. And we look forward on this evolutionary journey for this. We just got to keep the momentum going, though, but great job on that. Any other comments on this? Okay. I got real brief remarks for my chair's report. First is we had a APPA Policymaker Council thing on VTC on Tuesday, and a couple things. Joe Orfano referred to how I think we're just getting the 2017 FEMA reimbursement. Yeah, and that was a topic because, FEMA may be disbanding too or whatever. So I'm not sure how much FEMA still owes us directly or indirectly, but obviously we got to keep our eyes out on that. And one discussion was, it was said if FEMA, one of the courses of action at the senior level there, the government disbanding FEMA, first thing is getting the reimbursements distributed. So they're not losing sight on that, but just something to keep our eyes on. The other part was good news. It looks like the tax exempt status of municipal bonds looks like it'll be extended. which is good. That's always an ongoing concern too, for that. And then we mentioned the start of the hurricane season in up 3 through 5 June. Again, last year, that was a great exercise. Everybody was all over it. So just that time of year again, where we got to be Redcon 1, right? Which I'm sure we will. Okay, that said, our next meetings here, we have the FY26 budget workshop for the board on 4 June. And then our next board meeting is the 24th of June. And that said, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.